Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Azun Kabbalat Shabbat. And I think we better start. And we're going to have a Devar Torah from Morris. So over to you, Morris.
Thank you very much. Last week it was, or earlier this week, it was my father's Yahrzeit. So I think you might appreciate this particular talk. See how we go. Anyway, as a child, I, like a lot of us, was brought up on the Palestine Wine Company's product, be it pouring number 4, 4A, 11, or as in the case of my parents and subsequently ours, number 10. These wines were named after the bus routes that stopped and still stop at the winery at Rishon LeZion, the spelling of which I've counted more than 7 variants in Israel. By the way, the lower the number of the wine, the higher the alcoholic content. Porwin is the name of the first kosher and Israeli wine brand. It has now flourished in 3 separate centuries, the 19th, 20th, and 21st. But outside of Great Britain, it's scarcely known. It's also arguably the oldest wine brand still in existence in the kosher wine world. The story began in 1898 when a wine import and marketing company was opened in London by the Rishon LeZion and Zichron Yaakov wine cellars. Their British subsidiary initially traded as the Palestine Wine and Trading Company, also known as Porwin. At the time, the word Palestine was the term used for local, that is, Israeli enterprises. There were some other notable examples. The Palestine Bank was founded and later renamed Bank Leumi, and the quality newspaper for English speakers, the Palestine Post, was later renamed the Jerusalem Post. On the founding of the State of Israel, the company name of the UK subsidiary was changed from Palestine Wine to Carmel Wine Company, and the name Porwin then became specifically associated with kosher wine, Kiddush wine. No talk about Israeli wine would be complete without mention of the Rothschilds. Some towns, such as Zichron Yaakov and Benyamina, were named after Rothschilds. And those others, such as Rishon LeZion and Caesarea, remain monuments to their support. The Rothschilds also had a lasting effect on Israeli wine. They created a modern wine industry, renewing an ancient tradition. The Judean hills are full of wine presses, as well as the ruins of watchtowers. It seems that there is nowhere you can go in Israel without coming across ancient wine presses, and one can envisage someone making wine in ancient times. On the hilly terrain, all the untrained eye will see is a flat limestone basin cut into the rocks. This is usually overrun with scrub, and nearby you will often find what looks like a random pile of large stones. These are wine presses, dug and hewn into rock, and would more than not be closely or actually within a vineyard. If the newly harvested grapes were too far from the press, there was a danger that the weight of the grapes in the harvest collection baskets would break the skins open, and the natural yeast of the grape skins would cause premature fermentation. Desired product was wine, not vinegar, so the press would be most likely close proximity to the vineyard. Isaiah's Song of a Vineyard says, "My beloved one had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He dug it up and cleared it of stones and planted it with the choicest vines. He built a watchtower in it and cut out a winepress as well." We can learn much from this. The vineyard was on a slope for drainage and to catch the maximum rays of the sun. The gat, or winepress, would be made up of a pressing floor for stomping on the grapes, and a deep pit known as a yekev, or winery, where the fermentation would take place. Wine presses in the land of Israel date back all the way to the Iron Age, approximately 2,600 years ago. Remember the bunch of grapes carried by the spies? When there are a number of wine presses, it's in reasonably close proximity. It is assumed that they served a number of different plots of vines. These presses were not examples of domestic winemaking or a village community undertaking. They were most likely part of an agricultural estate owned by noblemen in Jerusalem. This indicates there was a very highly specialized wine economy in what was then the Kingdom of Judea. Much of the agriculture of the surrounding hills was to supply the Judeans and Jerusalem. There is, of course, no evidence of the vines remaining, but in the past, the vines would be planted in pockets of earth in suitable places between trees and solid rock. The farmer, even today, will follow the maxim, if you can, plant fruit trees. But if the ground is inhospitable, nothing else will grow, plant vines or olive trees. Close to most sites are piles of stone that seemingly there for no apparent reason. Nothing really further from the truth. The stones would have been used to build a watchtower for a guard to watch over the precious vines. These may also have been used to provide shelter or been used as a rudimentary ancient toolshed. These towers are described by Isaiah. One would also be close to the winepress and vineyard. The same stones may have been alternatively been used to build a dry stone wall to demarcate ownership or to plot or to build man-made terraces, particularly in the Judean highlands. The finished wines were put in animal skins or amphora. They would then be stored in nearby caves where it was cool and dark before being distributed by donkey. In those days, wine consumption was far greater than today. It was considered safer to drink wine than water, which was dangerous because water was a disease carrier. In the Judean highlands area, wine was used to pay taxes, particularly to the Assyrians. For the coastal area, it was traded and exported to Egypt and the Mediterranean basin. It was a mainstay of the economy. Wine was not named after grape varieties or made from a blend of known varieties. Most of the field or plot blends of whatever varieties happen to be in a particular place. Wines are named after the style of the wine, strong, old, young, etc., or the place from where, or the port from where it was exported, Gaza, Ashkelon, Carmel, etc. Wine was flavored in a similar way to vermouth, with herbs and spices. The idea was that the flavoring would make the wine palatable, cover up all of the wine's faults, and act as a preservative. Many of the additions were sweet, like date honey, and some were savory, like seawater. On the subject of additives, there was recently an extraordinary discovery. In an excavation in the city of David, a lot of debris was found in the easternmost room of Building 101, an administrative centre in Iron Age Jerusalem. These were fragments of shattered clay jars, crushed in some cases totally destroyed by the Babylonians. Some of these jars were painstakingly and incredibly rebuilt, shard by shard. The jars were found to have once stored olive oil or wine. When they discovered that some of the jars had the stamp of the Rosette seal, they realized the jars belonged to the kingdom's royal economy. They were dated at the time of King Zedekiah, king of Judea in the 6th century BCE. Using organic residue analysis, a new technique, a sensational discovery was made. For the first time ever, after analysis of the residue of the wine jars, evidence of vanilla was found. This rare, expensive, and exotic luxury would have been imported from the east on the spice routes that crisscrossed the Negev. It would have been used to flavour the wines of the Judean elite to take the edge off the rough wine. The Canaanites in their time were the world's best winemakers. They influenced the Egyptians, the first wine culture, and bequeathed their skills to the Phoenicians, who traded with the West, also to the Israelites and the Judeans. It was because of the importance of wine, then, in this very place that we call home, that this exalted beverage became an integral part of Jewish religious ritual. For instance, when the sacrifices were offered at the temple, these sacrifices were accompanied by wine libations. While wine has always been an integral part of how we have dined and celebrated, there are some for whom wine was anathema. The Nazarite, who vowed not to drink wine, an early form of rehab. Due to its specialized place in worship, there are extra restrictions on the making and handling of wine. The production and handling of kosher wine must be done exclusively by Jews. On Friday night in Yom Tovim, before we sit down to dine, we say Kiddush over the wine. On Pesach, we celebrate the exodus from Egyptian slavery and becoming free people. The Seder involves drinking 4 glasses of wine. It's tough, but it has to be done. At Purim, we drink even more wine. Where would we be without the 2 cups of wine to celebrate a wedding? And let us not forget that Noah who planted a vineyard. So you see, wine has a fundamental and central part to play in our religion. L'chaim and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Shikayach. I'm drunk already.
Thank you.